Okay, hello again, everybody. This is Colton Dale, second vice president of the GP DEMS. Right now, I am sitting down virtually with a couple staff members from the Michigan Democratic Party, Hayley Alderman and Milton Cribbs. Hayley, why don't you start off by introducing yourself, and then we'll kick it over to Milton.
Sure. Like he said, my name is Hayley Alderman. I am the Director of Party Affairs for the Michigan Democratic Party. I serve as the main point of contact for our local units regarding bylaws and rules and processes. I assist local leaders by providing them with the tools and trainings necessary that they need to be successful. I'm responsible for planning all statewide meetings of the Executive Committee, the State Central Committee, and all statewide conventions. I also help facilitate our Project 83 program, which places organizers all over the state to assist local parties and candidates in their efforts. And you're going to hear from one of our organizers, Milton, in just a minute. And then I also head up efforts for the creation and implementation of the National Convention delegate selection and affirmative action plan.
So sounds like you got a lot on your plate there.
Yes, yeah.
All right, so I neglected to mention that Milton is joining us just by audio. But Milton, if you want to introduce yourself, please do.
Okay, so like I said, my name is Milton Cribbs. I organize in Wayne County, specifically the Detroit area. I help the local parties and candidates pretty much with all their efforts for voting, engagement, tools, meetings, pretty much anything they need. So I'm the first point of contact with MDP for the groundwork. So anyone that needs anything in my region, I'm the one that they'll call.
That's great. That's awesome. We love our organizers, that's for sure. So let's jump into the questions here. First and foremost, how have you guys been doing? How have you guys been holding up throughout this unprecedented crisis?
Well, I feel really lucky, honestly, to still have a paycheck and to have a home that I can pay for. I know that so many people aren't afforded that luxury right now, and I am in a minority in many areas. So I'm really counting my blessings right now, and I also just sort of feel lucky to be working where I do. I'm incredibly busy right now, and I'm joining constantly big groups of Democrats in these Brady Bunch Zoom meetings, and I really feel in some ways more connected than ever. And I think it has really forced some of us as Democrats to refocus and sort of double down and reminded us how important the work we do is.
Right. And Milton?
Yes, like I agree with Hayley so much. I mean, this is a special time. Like, we all kind of been slowed down and kind of focus on what really matters. And in a weird way, it seems like we're getting more connected intimately with everything that's going on. And like Hayley said, I'm fortunate to still be working, still be able to receive a paycheck as well. Like, a lot of people I know lost their jobs, and a lot of people lost their lives. And this time just letting us know what really matters and like bringing us together to make something better happen, move forward for the future. So.
Right. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself, for sure. So next question, Hayley, this is more for you as Director of Party Affairs. What are some of the major changes that have been brought on at the MDP during this crisis?
I would say there's really nothing that hasn't been touched by this. Politics and campaigning is very much a person-to-person contact, large group sort of thing. Social distancing was definitely not in the cards for us up until extremely recently. So, in March, it became clear that we needed to cancel our statewide endorsement convention, and it was only a few days after that we started moving towards teleworking. And I think everything just sort of changed very quickly. right around then. So, you know, my job really didn't change. I'm still providing assistance to local units all over the state. Our organizers are still conducting outreach to voters and volunteers. We still have to elect delegates to the national convention, whether or not that convention ends up being held in person or moves to some sort of remote process. We have to, you know, adapt very quickly and figure out how to do all of these things remotely that are traditionally, of course, in-person processes. So local parties have just really stepped up and adapted so quickly and efficiently. I'm honestly so impressed by you know, the way that these groups have adapted and how quickly they've done it. I'm just really proud to be on this team. Nobody skipped a beat. You know, people are hosting online meetings, town halls, fundraisers, and you know, I'm still supporting them and making sure that they have the tools they need, and then bylaws are still being followed. You know, those things don't go away just because we're doing all of these processes on Zoom. So, you know, nothing has really not been changed, but I think that all of our clubs all over the state have done a great job in adapting.
Yeah, yeah. I know we're trying to do our part to, you know, go virtual and digital. It's definitely a learning process. So I want to move on to the next question, because the next question is more geared towards Milton in his role as an organizer. What do you think campaigning will look like going forward, specifically in regard to this year's presidential campaign?
Well, as now I know, I feel like a lot of campaigning will be a lot of online, phone calls, text programs for sure, and a lot of collaboration between different parties, different local parties and candidates. I feel like there will be a lot of more joining together, like a lot of more partnerships going forward, right? Within this time we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And I can add to that as well. You know, we were using a lot of these, you know, different softwares like TextOut, Mobilize, Zoom, Virtual Phone Bank, Slack, and things like that before this got started. So luckily, a lot of our staff members have experience with all of these tools, and we're able to assist in getting the clubs, you know, sort of up to speed. But now, of course, we're looking at rolling these out at a much more massive scale, and all of a sudden, all of these clubs are just as interested in using TextOut as we were hoping they would be, regardless of whether, you know, we were forced to do everything online. These are really effective tools that reach out to an entirely different group of voters. You know, the same voters who answer their phone aren't necessarily the same ones who engage in a texting type program. So, you know, I think it is going to look very different, but we're definitely prepared for the changes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, so my next question is, what big projects do you guys have in the pipeline right now?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of things have to be moved to online. We want to ensure the safety of our members. We're absolutely, obviously, sticking with the governor's recommendations that everyone stay home. So in doing that, we still have to elect our, you know, delegates to the national convention. So we're moving to do that all remotely. The deadline has passed to apply to run at the district level, and we're coming up now on a voting window, whereas before we would all have gathered on one day, you know, Saturday, May 16th. Now we're moving it to a voting window, May 7th to May 16th, where people will have a 10-day opportunity to fill out a Google form based on the candidate of their choosing. So it all looks and will run very similarly to if we were in person, but we're obviously working very hard to set up an infrastructure that is accessible to people regardless of their access to internet and things like that, so people can request a mail ballot. We're working on getting those out right now to people who have requested them. You know, they will be expecting emails. If you're a qualified voter, you'll get an emailed ballot starting May 7th. So we want to make sure that all of these processes are very well thought out, transparent, and accessible to all of our members.
Great. And I want to pose the same question to you, Milton. As an organizer, what big projects are you working on right now?
Currently, what I'm working on, I have a few local parties that's doing a phone bank that's targeting voters who did not vote in the last primary election. because where we at, we have a bad turnout problem. We have a lot of people who are registered, but they don't vote. So we're doing a phone bank list, targeting those voters and pushing the absentee ballot. So we're hoping to get numbers way better than they were in the past. So I believe with these phone banks, it'll change it. It'll make it way better.
Yeah, definitely. So I also want to ask you guys, what advice do you have for Democrats and progressive activists right now during this time where, we're all stuck indoors? Some of us are feeling down about the way things are right now. What advice do you have?
I would say stay connected, reach out when you need help or assistance. As Democrats, I think we're all sort of part of this connected family. We all have the same values. We all care about each other. So it's really important that, not only are we continuing to participate, we're continuing to host meetings and making sure we're reaching out to voters, but take a step back if you need a breather, take a break in your house, go for a walk. We don't want anyone to be pushing themselves too hard, and like I said, reach out when you need help.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I would say pretty much just continue to mobilize, stay engaged with whatever work is going on, whatever work you're doing. Reach out to voters, volunteers, family. Stay connected with everyone. Check on people. Check on the volunteers. And most of all, take care of yourself, because without you, the work can't be done. So.
And I would just add to that, when you're reaching out to voters, acknowledge the time and do a wellness check first and foremost. I think people are a little nervous right now to do phone banks, and especially to fundraise and things like that, because it is such an upsetting time for many people, for everyone really. But people appreciate the conversation. They appreciate being reached out to. Our pickup rates on all of our phone banks are just astronomical compared to what they've been in the past. Our engagement on our webinars has increased almost 200%, which sounds like a made up number, but that is actually how many more people are engaging right now. So don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for money. If people can't give it, they won't. I think people realize more than ever how important it is to stay engaged. So keep working, like Milton said, but just acknowledge the time and make sure you check in on people first.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I just want to know, do you have any final messages for the Girls Point Democratic Club membership at this time?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. The fact that we're doing this interview in the first place means that you're doing your part and you're making sure that members are still engaged. So thank you to everyone who is still working throughout this time. And just know that we at the Michigan Democratic Party are doing everything in our power to make sure that local parties and volunteers like you are supported and have the tools that you need to keep working through this pandemic. So if there's anything that you need in terms of training or support, even if you think it's only loosely related to something we would provide at MDP, please reach out, because we can figure something out. And like I said earlier, I think it's just so clear to everyone, especially now, how important it is that we have responsible, caring Democratic leadership in power, so that when things like this happen, our president isn't telling people to drink bleach or inject it.
Right. Milton?
I just want to say thanks for having us today. It means a lot. And remember, just stay home, stay safe, stay connected. Feel free to reach out. Do not hesitate. We're here to help. And we are in this together. We're in this together. So you're not alone. And we got your back. So give us a call. We got you. Thanks a lot. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. That's a fantastic message to end on. I want to thank you guys for joining me. This has been fun, a lot of good information, and I want you guys to stay safe.
Appreciate it, Colton.
All right. Take care, guys.